The ink on her hands. Moon Ga-young woke with a gasp. Her apartment was quiet, the kind of eerie stillness that seemed heavier than silence itself. The morning sun barely peeked through the blinds, cutting the room into pale strips of light. For a fleeting second, she thought it was just another ordinary morning. Until she saw her hands. Her palms, her fingers, both were smeared with thick, black ink. It had dried overnight, streaking her skin like veins of shadow. Her heart slammed in her chest. She scrambled upright, breathing fast, staring at her hands as if they belonged to someone else. The ink wasn't ordinary. She knew that smell, that deep, chemical sharpness. It was the same ink used in the forged documents that had framed Cha Eun-woo. The same ink that had nearly destroyed his life. And she had no memory of where it had come from. Ga-young stumbled into the bathroom, scrubbing furiously under the faucet. The water turned murky, streaks of black circling the drain, but the stain clung stubbornly to her skin, as if mocking her. Her mind raced. The last thing she remembered was coming home from work, exhausted, tossing her bag on the couch. She hadn't gone out. She hadn't touched a pen, let alone legal documents. But the ink told another story. Her phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. How does it feel to hold the truth in your hands? She dropped the phone as though it had burned her. The screen blinked, the message burning into her mind. Someone knew. Someone had put the ink there. But why? And what truth? Later that day, she sat in the cold visiting room of the detention center. The glass between her and Eun-woo felt thicker than ever. He noticed immediately. What happened to your hands? His voice was sharp, almost panicked. She tried to hide them, but it was too late. The ink had sunk deep into her skin, impossible to wash away entirely. I woke up like this, she whispered. I don't remember anything from last night. Nothing. Eun-woo leaned forward, his eyes searching hers, full of a desperate intensity. Ga-young, that ink. It's the same one they used to forge the contracts against me. Where did you get it? Her throat tightened. I don't know. For a long moment, he just stared at her. Doubt flickered across his face, quick as lightning but impossible to ignore. You think she stopped, her voice trembling. You think I did it? His hands pressed flat against the glass. I don't know what to think anymore. That night, she tore through her apartment, searching for anything, any trace of ink, any clue. Her bag, her desk, the trash bin. Nothing. Then, on the kitchen counter, she found it. A small folded note. Her breath caught as she unfolded it. Ink never lies. Look closer. The bottom corner was smudged with the same black ink staining her hands. But the handwriting, it was hers. Ga-young staggered back, shaking her head violently. No, I didn't write this. I couldn't have. The room seemed to spin. Her own handwriting was betraying her. Or was it being forged too? Sleep became impossible. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the ink on her hands. So she paced. Hours blurred together, and by midnight, she found herself staring into the bathroom mirror. Her reflection looked pale, haunted. And then she saw it, faint smudges of ink on the edge of the mirror, invisible unless caught in the right light. She touched it with trembling fingers. Whoever had been in her apartment hadn't just left the ink on her hands, they had left it everywhere. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. 2 nights ago. You don't remember because you were never supposed to. Her stomach dropped. 2 nights ago. What had she been doing? And why couldn't she remember? The next day, Ga-young confronted Eun-woo again. They're planting evidence, she said, her voice shaking. They want me to believe I was part of this. They want me to doubt myself. Eun-woo's eyes narrowed. That's how they break people, Ga-young. They don't need you guilty. They just need you to believe you are. Her chest tightened. But what if it's true? What if I really did? Stop. His voice cut through her spiral like a blade. Listen to me. You were not part of this. You are being used. Every mark on your hands, every note, every shadow, it's all part of their game. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. But then why did the ink smell so real? Why did her handwriting match the notes? And why, in the depths of her memory, was there a flicker of sitting at a desk, a pen in her hand, and a contract beneath her fingers? Rain slicked the streets that night as Ga Young hurried home, umbrella useless against the downpour. That's when she saw him. A man in a black cap, standing at the far end of the alley, watching her. Her pulse spiked. "Hey," she called, but her voice was swallowed by the rain. The man raised his hand. Something glinted between his fingers, a fountain pen. Her stomach dropped. He let it fall to the ground, the clatter sharp even over the storm, then disappeared into the shadows before she could move. Ga Young ran to where he had stood. The pen lay there, sleek and silver, its nib dripping fresh black ink. She picked it up with trembling hands. And etched along its side were 3 words: yours. Always yours. By the time she got home, she was shaking. She locked every door, every window, and sat at her desk with the pen. She didn't want to look. She didn't want to know. But some part of her already knew what she would find. Pulling open her drawer, she froze. There it was. A stack of papers. The forged contract, the very one that had framed Eun Woo. But this wasn't the final version. This was a draft. And at the bottom of the page, in her own handwriting, was a signature. Her signature. Her vision blurred. She dropped the paper, her breath breaking. No, this isn't real. But the ink was real. The stain on her hands was real. And if the signature was real too, then maybe she was part of it all along. The next morning, Ga Young walked into the courthouse gallery, her steps hollow, her eyes vacant. Eun Woo looked at her from across the room, searching for the anchor she had always been. But she couldn't meet his gaze. Because now, for the first time, she wasn't sure if she was standing beside him, or standing against him. And somewhere deep inside, beneath the confusion and the fear, a terrifying thought whispered through her mind. What if the ink on her hands wasn't planted at all? What if it was her own? The courtroom hummed with whispers. It wasn't trial day, not officially, but Eun Woo had been summoned for a hearing. Ga Young sat stiff in the gallery, her hands buried deep in her coat pockets. Everywhere she turned, she felt eyes. Eyes that knew. Eyes that judged. When Eun Woo entered, shackled and escorted by guards, his eyes searched for her. For a second, relief flickered in them until he noticed her clenched fists. And then the prosecutor spoke. "We've obtained new evidence," the man announced, holding up a plastic sleeve. Inside it, Ga Young recognized the draft she had found in her desk, the forged contract with her handwriting and her signature. Her body went rigid. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it would break through her ribs. The prosecutor's gaze swept the room before landing on her. "Moon Ga Young," he said smoothly, "perhaps you'd like to explain why your handwriting appears on falsified evidence linked to Cha Eun Woo's case?" The gallery erupted in gasps. Eun Woo froze, his face blanching. Ga Young stood as though pulled by strings, the weight of 100 stairs dragging her down. Her throat dried. Her hands burned with the phantom ink. Her voice cracked. I didn't write that. I swear." But her words sounded thin, fragile. Like a lie whispered in the dark. And Eun Woo's silence cut deeper than any accusation. Later, they met in the cold visiting room again. The glass separated them, but this time the distance felt infinite. "Why didn't you tell me?" Eun Woo asked, his voice sharp but trembling. Her lips parted. "I didn't know. I only found the draft yesterday. I was going to show you, He leaned forward, eyes blazing. "Ga Young, do you understand what this means? They can tie you to all of it. If you're involved, even by accident, then his voice broke. "Then I really am finished." Her chest ached at his words. His faith in her had always been her anchor. Now it was slipping. "I didn't do this," she cried, pressing her ink-stained palms against the glass. "I don't know how my handwriting got there. I don't even remember the night before. Someone is playing with me, Eun Woo. You have to believe me." For a long, agonizing moment, he said nothing. His silence was louder than her plea. Finally, he whispered, "I want to believe you." Want. Not do. And that difference shattered her. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every creak in her apartment made her flinch. Every shadow stretched too long. At 2:17 a.m., a knock sounded at her door. Slow. Deliberate. Her breath caught. She crept toward the peephole, nothing. Just the dim glow of the hallway light. Another knock. Harder this time. "Who's there?" she called, her voice trembling. No answer. Her phone buzzed on the table. She picked it up with shaking hands. Unknown number. Step outside. The truth is waiting. Her grip loosened, the phone nearly slipping. She backed away from the door, heart hammering. Whoever it was, they were here. The same person leaving pens, leaving notes, leaving stains. And now they wanted her to step into the dark. She didn't. She locked every bolt, every chain. But she couldn't shake the sound of those knocks echoing in her chest. The next morning, Ga Young returned to her desk. The forged draft still lay there, mocking her with its signature. Her eyes burned from lack of sleep, her nerves raw. And then she noticed something. The ink wasn't just black. Under the right light, there was a faint shimmer like oil on water. She froze. That wasn't normal ink. Her mind raced. This wasn't just handwriting forgery. It was chemical. It was deliberate. She grabbed the pen left in the alley and tested it on a scrap of paper. The ink bled the same iridescent shimmer. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Now you're closer. But remember, truth comes at a price. She dropped the pen, her pulse racing. They weren't just framing Eun-woo. They were rewriting reality itself, line by line, word by word. That night, as exhaustion finally pulled her into restless sleep, Ga Young dreamed. Except it didn't feel like a dream. She was sitting at a table, pen in hand, papers spread before her. A man's voice, low, commanding, whispered instructions behind her. "Sign here. Just a draft. It won't mean anything. Just practice." Her hand moved, almost against her will, scrawling her name at the bottom of the page. Her eyes snapped open, drenched in sweat. It wasn't a dream. It was a memory. Someone had been with her that night. Someone had made her sign. And she had forgotten until now. The next day, she went to see Eun-woo. This time, she spoke with a fire that surprised even her. "I remember," she said. "Someone was there that night. They made me sign the drafts. I didn't know what I was signing, it felt like practice, nothing more. But it was them. They planted it all." Eun-woo's eyes widened, disbelief warring with hope. "Who? Who was it?" "I don't know yet," she admitted, fists tightening. "But I'll find them. I'll prove it wasn't me." He leaned closer, voice raw. "Ga Young, if you're wrong, if you can't prove it, they'll bury us both." Her chest tightened. She knew he was right. But what choice did she have? She couldn't keep running from the ink on her hands. She had to chase the hand that put it there. That night, she followed the lead herself. She returned to the alley where the pen had been dropped. Every flickering light, every shadow, made her nerves jolt. And then she saw it, another object, lying in the gutter. A scrap of paper. Smudged with the same black ink. She bent down, her hands trembling as she picked it up. It was a photograph. Her and Eun-woo. Together, laughing, taken months ago. But across it, scrawled in thick ink, were the words, "2 steps behind." Her blood ran cold. They weren't just leaving evidence. They were following her. Watching her. Rewriting her story in reverse. And now they wanted her to know. Back in her apartment, Ga Young stared at the photograph until her vision blurred. She thought of Eun-woo, alone behind bars, his faith in her slipping. She thought of the mysterious figure in the alley, the knocks at her door, the ink that wouldn't wash away. She wasn't just caught in their web anymore. She was the ink itself, the pen they used to script his downfall. And as the shadows lengthened across her walls, she whispered to herself, her voice trembling but steady. "I'll find you. Whoever you are. And when I do, I'll make you pay for every drop of ink." But somewhere deep inside, a darker fear coiled tight. What if the truth she